Let's talk about how the New Zealand government's been using your taxpayer dollars to fund genetic experiments on animals, and you probably had no idea. For well over 20 years, publicly funded research grants have been funneled through MBIE into AgResearch to experiment on cows, goats and sheep, and even grasses. And what this latest GE3 New Zealand research report shows is pretty damning. Calves like this little guy unfortunately were born with enlarged heads. Many of the surrogate animals had really high abortion rates, between 85 and 99%. There was also very low live birth rates, between 2 and 8%. And if animals were lucky enough to survive, they were often born with such severe deformities across their limbs and organs that they died soon after, or they had to be euthanized. We also had transgender goats. Some of these experiments are what scientists often call biofarming. By genetically modifying animals, they can create altered milk content, therapeutic proteins, and pharmaceuticals, essentially turning living animals into factories instead of using conventional labs. But what's also very concerning is how they dispose of those genetically modified animals once they were dead or euthanized, by burying them in offal pits or burial pits. So over time, as those animals decompose, their genetic material seeps into the soil and possibly even waterways. And we still don't know what that's doing with the soil microbes and if there's any gene transfer happening. AgResearch tested the soil at the time, but as Professor Jack Heinemann found, the test was so poorly designed that it couldn't really answer the question, is there a gene transfer happening in the soil biology? And because of those flaws, we're left with a lot of uncertainty and many red flags. And if all of this shocks you, it should, because your taxpayer dollars funded it. AgResearch has pulled in multi-millions of your dollars over the years, and here's a few recent examples. By 2020, AgResearch had received $44.4 million for their Strategic Science Investment Fund, making agri-food production and premium agri-foods. And in 2023, on their own website, they got another $13 million in government funding to help advance opportunities in New Zealand's both plant-based food ingredient and cell-based protein markets. And just for some extra proof, here's the goat study, and look who's thanked in the acknowledgements, good old MBIE. And I'll be honest with you, this isn't even the half of it. So in over 20 years of research and multi-millions of taxpayer money being funneled into this Crown Research Institute, there's still no public benefit, no commercialisation outcomes, nothing, zero. The good news is these animal experiments have now finally stopped. But unfortunately, under the government's new proposed gene technology bill, we could see this all ramp up again. So if you prefer that your taxpayer money wasn't funding this unethical waste of life and taxpayer waste, then we need to speak up now, because we've got until December until this gene technology bill could pass into legislation. So make sure you check the comments to see how you can take action. And to read the full report, go on GE3 New Zealand. I warn you, it's tough reading.